They keep changing again and again. Or is it again? Anyway, well, what the hell's going on with the FMCSA here lately? Let's figure that out and let's talk about it. Coming up on Trucking Frontlines.
From the trenches of trucking experience.
And things. We know about this because of all the publications that come out year after year, day after day, week after week, time after time. Welcome to the broadcast, folks. I do apologize for the late start. We are in the learning curve, and it's coming up on us hard, so you'll have to bear with us. Windows does not like cooperating with my truck for some reason. We are, again, in the mobile studio. We are not at home. So, yeah, things are going to happen. Imperfections from time to time. But it's part of the business of being alive and being present. I thank you for your patience. If you take a moment, go down to the respective channels. If you're here with Driving with John, yeah, I slipped. You guys know he's in the house. Go ahead down below, like his channel, like his broadcast, and certainly subscribe if you haven't already. If you, on the other hand, are on my channel, which is Truckin' City Media, be kind enough to do the same with me. Go up and down below, hit the like button, subscribe. I promise you, it's going to be entertaining today. I've got a lot planned, and we've got quite a bit to talk about. So without further ado, we are going to do that. We'll get to comments in just a moment. I see quite a few. So first, I want to give you guys a little bit of a taste of what it is you're actually tuning in for. So without too much delay, and assuming my technical difficulties don't embrace me here, there we go. Let's talk about something you might not know about trucking today. Trucking has its own language. Us truckers, we use a unique vocabulary while we're out there, filled with slangs like lot lizard. Everybody, if you're a trucker, lot lizard means prostitute. Well, then there's yardstick. Everybody knows that's slang for mile marker. Well, lastly, there's a term we all hear a lot, if you're a trucker, that is, hammer lane. That talks about the far left lane. Don't get caught out there. An old bear might come along and give you a ticket. Oh, that's another one. Yeah, okay. One such term has an interesting little story I was looking up the other day. I thought I'd share it with you. In the mid-70s, it was a time America was grappling with an energy crisis. And amidst the turmoil of trying to conserve fuel and try to get a grip on lowering prices, there emerged a curious phenomenon on open road. Lawmakers decided, I've got a solution to the problem. Let's do something that puts everybody on the same playing field, slows them down, and saves fuel. So in 1974, the national maximum speed limit was born. It's a decree that would forever change the landscape of America in trucking. The law was great at the time. It worked for everybody. But soon, lo and behold, 55 was just a little too slow, and people made some noise about it. It would eventually reach its conclusion in 1995 with, obviously, there no longer at that point in time being an energy crisis, or in the mind of most truckers and trucking groups, a need for such slow speeds. So they eventually went in, talked a lot of crap, had a lot of protests, who here remembers those, and eventually decided to repeal the national speed limit law, returning control of what was the speed limits to the individual states and ridding the roadways of a term that developed out of that time in our lives, known as the double nickel. Now you know the rest of the trucking story. That is by far, I believe, the pinnacle of trucking history. And in fact, you probably, as a trucker, have forgotten about. And if you're a regular car driver, you probably never heard. Let us know in the comments below if you are familiar with it, or if you're obviously familiar, let us know the first time you heard that. That would be interesting to know. Welcoming our first guest today on the show, a known regular and obviously already well announced because of a technical issue here. Driving with John. How are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
All right. So what do you think about that double nickel story and speed limits? Oh my God, we could talk the entire show about that.
Yeah, I think that's a whole nother show. I would say, I don't know about speed limits, but I'd say no speed limiters.
Right. No, I mean, just the idea of having a seriously, I mean, again, I'm digressing. I'm going in an obviously wrong direction because my show isn't about that, but it is about the FMCSA, and it's about, sometimes that's the crux of the show. You'll see by the stories coming up. They're not making up their minds. They're not sticking with one frame of mind. And that basically, I know it drives me nuts. And when you look at news stories the way I do, God, it's got to drive you guys nuts too. I mean, think about it. I mean, one day it's this, one day it's that. I mean, speed limiters is the epitome of that argument. I mean, look how many times we've gone back and forth. 60's good, 70's good. You know, me and Fate Trucking, we got into an argument one time about why 80's dangerous. And though I agree with him and see the sense in his argument, I mean, you know, there's got to be one standard. And I think that one standard has got to apply to everyone. What say you in the audience? Comment down below. Let us know. What about you, John? What do you think?
Yeah, if they're going to do speed limiters, they really should do it for everybody, cars and trucks. Because honestly, I get why they want it, but, and no one ever agrees with me. It's a big point of contention everywhere. But
Right.
if you got trucks going slower than cars, it's going to create traffic issues and accidents. It just is. In my mind, that makes sense. Maybe in reality it doesn't, but my messed up mind, that's how I think.
Yeah.
And I've seen it happen going down the highway where cars just come up on a rig real quick. And,
yeah.
you know, it just happens all the time. So it just creates a place for that to happen even more. And in our distracted 3-second society where everybody's on their phone, it's just an opening for more problems. So
Exactly. Welcoming some guests in the house. We have one that's recently made his mark known on our channel. Welcome to the channel and welcome to the show. Trucking is Dead. Good morning. Poet is with us, our friend from the north. God bless you, my sir. Poet is in the house. I'm loving that. God bless you and welcome. We have also 7C's in the house saying good morning to us all. Welcome, my friend. I'm streaming the comments here, just looking to make sure I don't miss anybody. And we also have Fate Trucking. Boom, my friend. I'm glad you're with us today. Let me see. Saying hi to everybody. So that's what we're doing. We're saying hi. So everybody's in the house. Glad you could join us. Once again, go down, hit the like button, give me some support, show me the love. Let us know where you're sitting. If you're on a break, if you're driving, don't be unsafe, please. You know, be nice about it. Let's welcome our second guest in the house. He's the man you know and love, the grumpy old cotton, the grumpiest oldest cotton. Whatever. He's the grumpy old man. He's probably better with words than I am. God bless you, Frank. How you doing?
You know, you just really made this grumpy old codger grumpier because you just said my name all upside down and everywhere.
Yeah, I know.
We're doing all right this morning.
I have not had enough of this. I can tell you.
No, you're just speed it out.
Exactly. Oh, hush, old man. Weigh in on this speed limiter thing. What do you think about speed limiters? Come on, make us really grumpy.
I'm gonna tell you what. I'm not for them speed limiters at all. I mean, I agree with John on that. It's going to cause a major traffic problem. And a lot of people don't remember the convoys. Well, that's what's going to happen, basically. We're going to be convoying because we're going to be back to back. We can't pass each other. It's just stupid. It really is. And I'm telling you what, if I had anything to do with it, it wouldn't happen at all. And I do remember whenever it went from double nickel back to 65, whenever I got my actual driver's license in 96. So, you know, I remember that day.
Yeah, good point, Tom. That's one of the things I thought I'd bring up. I mean, because some of the people in the audience may actually have a memory of some of that stuff. So I thought that pretty, pretty good, in timing anyway. I mean, I'm usually one about trucking history, but I'm trying to spice things up, not be the same old, same old. You never know what you're going to get when you tune in to my show. But you're going to learn something. And, hey, we have a good conversation to boot. So, hey, you get a little everything tuning in here. So, let me see. Everybody's still saying hi. Trucking is dead with a hashtag. Love that. No speed limits. Good hashtag. Love that. We are all about that. Elephant races, he says. That's a term. There you go. Elephant races. I don't know if that's got a unique point of history, but it works nonetheless. The wife in the audience, by the way, she's a moderator on my channel, so careful, people. Don't make her mad. She will go bang. She's got a big hammer.
So if I disappear, we know who did it.
Right there, right? Hello, Lorianne from Poet. God bless. Good deal. And what are we saying here? Trucking's dead. Grumpy guy seems extremely grumpy. Is that the grumpy guy on the left or the grumpy guy on the right? Be careful. Specify carefully. No, seriously. And Poets with 55 question mark. Yeah, we were talking about that whole 55 thing. I think this conversation is basically going to get derailed here because everybody's piping up about 55. I know, my fault. I asked you to do it. Okay, good enough. Another reason it's going to get derailed. Boom! Fate is in the house. God bless you, my friend. Love the show. Love the fact you decided to join. Great to have. Good to have you.
Good morning.
Good morning. So what? Real quick, what are your thoughts on how I opened the show? What do you think?
Well, I think for one, I do think speed limiters are the only way that we build trucking back better. I'm joking. I am so joking.
Don't make this grumpier.
I was gonna say you're gonna start a fight that you're not ready for, Scott. Be careful.
Oh, I'm ready for it. I'm ready for it.
I'm not. I'm scripted in another direction, but okay, whatever.
No, I am not for speed limiters at all. I don't see how. Listen, this is my personal opinion. I don't believe a lot of wrecks that involve, maybe I'm wrong here, like commercial vehicles are like happening out on the open highway. They're happening in like congested areas of highways, construction zones of highways, bad weather. And the reality is I don't think speed limiters take that away. A bad driver is a bad driver. Speed limiter ain't going to change that.
Yeah. Speed limiters ain't going to change the fundamentals of somebody getting trained wrong or trained too soon, which we will eventually see. That's the other problem I'm going to highlight tonight or on today's show, because I mean, that's another area I think FMCSA needs to make a firm decision on and go one way or the other. So I'm about to go through 3 different stories that I've noticed in the last 4 weeks that I've noticed pop up. All 3 of them center on the same thing, and we're going to talk about it. So I'm glad you mentioned that, Scott. So that's a good segue to talk about. The wife says they're all grumpy. Yeah, so it don't take much to get me. Aside from, let me tell you, the place I'm at didn't have real cream. So this is kind of a fake coffee, but it passes. So, yeah, that's why I'm grumpy. Anyway, what about you, Frank? Why are you grumpy?
We? Oh,
yeah, you.
I've got several reasons I could be grumpy. Which
Give
topic
me one. Short stream it.
Short stream it?
Yeah.
Well, if we're talking about the speed limiter deal, I'd be grumpy because the factor of it is, why control just us and not the 4-wheelers? And they're the ones that usually cause us to have the accidents. That's a big part of my deal. I'm telling you, it's aggravating whenever we're going down a highway already speed limited to a certain speed, you know, especially on 2-lane highways. And then you get these butt heads going around us, and then they brake check us because we're going too slow, and they can go 80 miles an hour down the highway.
Yeah. Poe puts up Ontario decided to limit to 105, which is about 65 miles an hour. So yeah, I think they're kind of ahead of the game on that. What were you going to say, Scott?
Well, Frank brings up a little bit of a point about brake checking, but I would be curious. So I've been out here on the roads for 25 years. I, in that 25 years, have been brake checked hard maybe only twice. I don't think it's something like what I experience. Now, you three might have different experiences. I don't get brake checked a lot, and I'm out on the East Coast a lot. I do get where they pull around me and like give me the finger, you know what I mean, or throw their hands up as they get in front of me, you know what I mean.
Right after they did something wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, the other thing is when you're driving out here on the East Coast, Connecticut, Massachusetts, there's no rhyme or reason for how the people drive out here. You're either going 100 miles an hour or you're going 30 miles an hour. There's like no in between.
And the roads are different up there. So, I mean, I can definitely test what you're talking about. The most common thing with me is what they'll do is they'll ride along the left-hand side of you. And then all of a sudden, at the very last second, their exit's coming up ahead of you. And at the very last second, they zip across you and 2 other lanes on your right to get to that exit, you know, and they run the hammer lane. And that is, I mean, believe it or not, that's happening with greater frequency. But to your point, Scott, no, I don't get brake checked that much because I put enough thought ahead and say, oh, look, I know somebody could, so I back off. I mean, I'm not all about kissing somebody.
Something I'll say, one thing does make me a really grumpy old man is whenever I'm down in Texas, because that's usually where I run a lot, and they've got these side roads, you know, they're lane highways on the side of the main interstate.
Yeah.
These guys will come off, get on, run over all the way to the left lane, and then they have to get off at the next exit because they don't want to go through that traffic light. So then they jump over in front of you, and you have to hit your brakes just to keep from hitting them. That's really gets me going right there.
Yeah. Go ahead and say it. You were going to take the saying that burns my butt more than a 3-foot flame. I get that. I saw you traveling there, so just saying, you know. Hey, look, I'm talking about, you know, today, different things with the FMCSA. And one of the things with the FMCSA that's on the chopping block, at least currently, is a program that's kind of well known, but yet not so well liked. So let's talk about this very thing from the standpoint of whether or not it's good or not. Hide out and watch this.
Students were able to see firsthand where blind spots are and learn the importance of maintaining a safe distance.
Across the nation, there's a 78,000 driver shortage, and that's expected to increase over the next few years. So there's a desperate need for truck drivers locally and nationally.
It was a big eye-opener. I didn't know how much they make or how much of a demand there is for them. You really had no idea before getting in the truck that there was that bad, because everyone knows there's a truck blind spot, but no one really knows like to the extent of it.
All right, I'm stopping that because I'm not sure if you guys actually heard the audio on that. So let me ask.
Yeah, we heard it.
Yes, we heard it.
Okay. Good. Okay, because I'm not sure, because usually it plays different on my laptop, so I hear it. But usually, the bottom line is students and young people are getting the firsthand view of what is actually going on in the truck with us while we're driving, which is a good thing. And believe you me, I think it's necessary, but I think they need to go with that program on a much wider scale. Don't just focus on the students in a high school program somewhere, because 9 times out of 10, as it's been proven before, these programs don't solicit enough involvement to pay for themselves or even make younger drivers responsible enough to get behind an 18-wheel truck. But the education that newscast was talking about and partly went into, and I only played part of it. The links to these things, by the way, are in the description of this video, so please check it out if you want to know more. But the thing I want to focus on is that kind of understanding and education, and just exactly what we're talking about here this morning, from open to now, I think would do the world of good for all these four-wheel drivers out there that currently do the very things we're talking about. What say you, John?
I'm sorry.
Were you unprepared?
Yes, I was unprepared. I agree that 18-year-olds aren't really mature enough or ready to drive a truck. That being said, I don't think it's bad to start learning at 18. I just don't want them out on the highways, because truck driving takes quite a time to learn how to do effectively, safely, in a good manner, and to learn how to do it correctly. So,
I mean, yeah, we need more education for not just 18-year-olds. Don't get me wrong. I'm focusing on that because that's the subject of the video, but I'm kind of dovetailing off to, I think, an even more important issue. And think about it. I mean, think about, and I don't have the numbers, think about the millions of cars that are floating around the city streets of every city across the country, making dangerous moves, running through construction zones at Mach 5 that don't care about whether or not there's a worker on the other side of that barrier, that Jersey wall.
Don't get me started.
I was going to say, you not long ago made a video that featured an opinion about that. Now, if that went beyond and went including that, what would you say? Give me your thoughts and opinions on that.
I'm telling you right now, more and more people need to learn about the work zone safety. I'm telling you, it's getting ridiculous. Even us big truck drivers, there's several of them out there that just zoom on through like they own it. If they kill somebody, that's the end. Their career's gone.
Yeah, I mean, it's done for.
So,
I mean, if more people, if more people, Scott, had some sort of an understanding about, those blind spots we talked about, or the brake check issue you were talking about a minute ago. I mean, I would say it would probably be a better place for the government to spend their money. What do you think?
Well, I think putting students into a truck to let them see where the blind spots are is absolutely fantastic. I wish, I mean, when my kids were learning how to drive, obviously because I'm a truck driver, when we would get on the side of trucks or something like that, when they had their permit practicing, I explained to them where the truck can see them and where they can't. As for an 18-year-old getting a CDL, I 100% support that. An 18-year-old can go and fight for the country and fire a rifle and be put in some of the most dangerous, stressful situations that are known to man.
If they can smoke cigarettes,
I don't think driving a truck is the same as being in a war zone.
Well, I think if they can smoke cigarettes and if they can hold a rifle and defend the country border, they can certainly drive an 18-wheeler. I agree with you there. Yes, sir.
I actually
we have a problem.
Can I weigh in on that one?
Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
I actually agree with you, even though I said that. But here's the problem with it. If to be a school teacher, you have to go to school for 4 years. To be a doctor, you have to go for 12 years. To be all these different jobs that require a lot of responsibility and training, but yet you can come fresh out of high school and drive inside your state. Currently, right now, as far as I know, in all 48 lower states, as soon as you come out of high school, you can drive in state.
Regionally only,
Regionally, right? That's what I'm saying. As long as you don't cross state lines,
interstate as opposed to interstate.
My question is that too much responsibility? That being said, if you can fight for your country, I've always been that guy that says exactly what Scott just said, but it does make you wonder why all these other industries require so much training when, it's such a high risk job,
Yeah. To that point, I know you got something to add to that, Scott. Just 1 second. Poet put in a comment, apparently referring to the speed limit law in Ontario. I think his next comment was accidents went up by 44%. I'm reading into that response, Poet, that you're telling me that because of that speed limiter adjustment or new law, did the ratio you just put on the screen, just say yes or no. Did it go up because of the speed limit or before? That's what I'd like to know, because that's what I'm reading into that. And if that's what you mean, that just goes to our point. Slowing down speed limits for trucks and not cars is not a good thing. And it's accompanied by what my wife puts up also. She says, put the limiters on the cars, not the trucks. You guys have a schedule to keep, loads to deliver. These boneheads in cars don't. I'm only going to partly take exception with one part of that sentence, dear. And that is, yes, people do have schedules to keep the same way we do. Don't confuse issues. I understand what you're saying and agree with what you're saying, with one exception. My thing is, if you're going to put speed limiters as a safety measure, okay, to increase safety on the roadways, all right, it's best and probably more favorable for everyone on those roadways to be under the same set of rules. Rules are currently different for us trucks as they are for cars, with very wide-ranging exceptions to that. But for the most part, we are treated differently, and therefore, I think, are put in situations more frequently that put us at risk of having more accidents. What's your thought there, Scott? You were kind of challenging John a minute ago, and I added a new dimension to this conversation, but you're welcome to chime in on either one.
I wasn't challenging John.
Well, you kind of took exception to what he said about 18-year-olds, so I give you a chance to respond to that.
Well, no, I said what I said about 18-year-olds. I
okay.
I don't like the comparison of going to school, college for 4 years for doctor and stuff like that. You're comparing apples to oranges there. We're not even in the same food group. In my opinion.
Yeah.
I do think, like, this is gonna sound so ridiculous, and I hope you know what I'm saying with this. We should be viewed differently. A passenger car is not the same as a commercial vehicle. So, like, we should be treated differently. Whether that's certain laws for semi-trucks that don't affect four-wheel cars, like, I'm once again, I'm not advocating for any more regulations on trucking. I already think trucking is so heavily regulated that anything else we're doing or the FMCSA decides to do is just watering down an issue, because we're not even attacking what the issue is. And until somebody wants to actually attack what the issue is, nothing's going to change.
What's the issue?
Yeah. Well, the issue I raised is that the cars and the trucks are not in the same playing field, and we're treated differently, even though we are separate places. You know, in one respect, we're talking about speed limiters. You know, we're now expected, according to, the rulemaking in progress, that we're now expected to live under a different set of rules where it comes to max speed than regular cars. Cars can go 100 miles an hour, and we're sitting here limited to, we don't even know the speed limit they're putting through yet because they haven't published it. And every time they do, it's different. So why should we be expected to sit under different circumstances and do a job when these cars aren't expected to do the same thing, when they are the ones causing the problems, and FMCSA fails to recognize that?
To play devil's advocate and kind of take both sides on this one, but I don't mean to, but it's true. We are supposed to be professional drivers, so we are held to a higher standard. Like, I get that, and I agree with that 100%. Right. But at the same point, it's not about separating them in that way. It's more about what is best on the roads. For the speed limiter thing, I think we should all be the same. We are way more regulated than anybody in a car, as Scott, you were just saying. So that's, I'm kind of walking, I know I'm walking the line there, but I'm just saying that for that particular point, I agree. So.
Right. Anything to add to it, Frank, before I move on to the next topic?
Yeah, I'm going to add to this because it pertains to both John and Scott here. One of the things we have here in Oklahoma, and a few other states have got it too, that I found, is there's actually a college that has a 6-month truck driving program. So it actually gives them more time to learn, more rules and stuff. And it's actually, you can get grants to pay for it. like whenever you just go to a 4-week school, which I'm definitely for that, because it gives them more time to learn, to get out there. So, I wanted to bring that up, but
I'm wondering if you got a sneak peek and like, did you look at the story I'm about to talk about? I'm wondering, because it's freaky that you're talking about that.
Hey guys, I'm so sorry. I gotta run. I gotta go.
Scott,
I got work to do.
I love you being here. Thank you for joining us. You be safe.
Take care, guys. Have a good day.
Safe
nice
travel.
seeing y'all. Thanks, Grumpy. Bye.
Midlife actually added, Midlife Trucker added, it's been legal to drive 18 for a while within state lines for decades. Why does crossing an imaginary line change anything? I don't know that we're into that topic today, but that he brings it up. I mean, the imaginary line, I get what you're saying. But what I think needs to happen is, I think experience stepping up is what needs to happen when it comes to training younger kids and younger adults. You don't know when you're putting somebody behind the wheel what they're capable of. You don't know what their skills are until you've actually put them behind and put them in situations, seeing how they react. I mean, why expect someone to get in a truck in the middle of, let's say, Vermont, and travel all the way across the country to Albuquerque, New Mexico, and go through the various circumstances you're going to go through without actually having that happen under specific circumstances and observing how professionals do it? And I get that some companies care, some companies don't, some states have rules, some states don't. But I think if there was a national standard that kind of closely modeled the story I'm about to highlight, I think I'd feel better about that. I think the whole imaginary line thing is just the state's way of feeling good about passing the buck. That's kind of my thought on that whole thing. But good point, Midlife. I'm glad you brought that up. Chuckin's Dead says, seems like John is walking the fence, picking up opinion. He really likes you, buddy.
All right.
Yeah. Says kind of, but this reasoning makes sense. A lot of it depends on the psychological makeup of the new driver. Good point, sir. Good point. Stick with us. It gets thicker and deeper. A new face in the house says training should be last at least a year. Thomas Lou Isaac. Good. Welcome to the show. Good point. A year, I think, is too long. But I do agree it should be longer than it currently is, because currently in some states it's capped at 160 hours. And after that, you're given training, you're given the CDL and a kick in the ass and said, have fun, wish you luck.
Can I expand on that comment?
Oh, yes, you may. Go right ahead.
Sorry.
No.
Actually, that's kind of what I was thinking. Not a year, but I was thinking like an 18-year-old getting their license to drive a semi by themselves, but going to school at 18 and going out with somebody else and learning the ropes, whether it's a year or 6 months. I mean, when I first started, the guy that trained me said that he had 3 months on a truck with a trainer, and he wasn't even allowed to touch the wheel for the first month.
Wow. Yeah.
And I know that sounds extreme, but it just shows the importance of the responsibility of being a truck driver. So if you want a hardcore opinion, new truckers are going to hate this opinion, but yeah, you need to learn, and it needs to take a while, and you need to take it seriously. And that's how you do it, by bringing someone along slowly, not handing them keys to a 80,000-pound truck a week after graduating school that taught you how to pass a test.
Yeah, I mean, that is a little too soon. And, I think a national standard basically needs to be really should be looked at. And I don't know that that's ever going to be something that happens, but I do think it's something to bring up to somebody and kind of say, hey, look, we need to think about this differently. All right. Because this story right here is a classic reason behind why I say what I say. All right. This particular program I talk about. All right. Let me get to FMCSA shaking up things by axing a requirement for inward-facing cameras. That's what this particular article talks about, one of the many things, okay? They're talking about the apprenticeship program, but also, in addition, what they're talking about is making other changes, too. One of which, let me get to my screen here. I'm winging this, people. Bear with me. One of which, not long ago, the whole program, by the way, not long ago, was considered dead on arrival, okay? Because it was on a different newscast and a different article where they were actually considering, because it was only 33 people in that survey time frame, I think it was over a year, that actually graduated the program. All right. Back then, it was just that 160 hours, and they added a few hours for the young kids, like you're seeing in these shots here. But now they're looking to revise the program and the rules, not the least of which is talking about hours, which we were just talking about a minute ago. And I wish I had some graphics to give you other than the storyline, but 120 hours of drive time and prove they've got what it takes to handle the rig. Then on top of that, there's another 280 hours of training with a specific person. Now, my question is, would all that training really make a difference? I mean, we were just talking about it a minute ago. I mean, Frank, what do you think in terms of training, not lengthening it like a year, like that other fella says, but if we were to beef it up and say, give, that 280 hour consideration. I mean, I'm not doing the math. I'm not sitting here thinking about it right this second, but how would that make you feel if you're thinking about this young guy in another 6 or 8 months being on the road with you?
Well, if he's been in school for 6 or 8 months, I mean, he's bound to have learned something to where he's able to control that rig properly and safely.
Right.
I mean, my school that I went to and graduated from twice, anyhow, they do an extended period if they feel that you need more training, because they understand you, they see you, and they're able to work with you. So if they feel you need more training, they extend you up to 2 weeks longer. So instead of a 4-week program, it's a 6-week, which is wonderful. And I'm telling you, that other program I was just talking about with the college, 6 months of learning, and you're able to get out there with hands-on with a trainer. You're able to learn more. You're able to get that pre-trip system down.
Yep.
Load securement things. They talk about all that.
Right.
Hey, I'm for something like that. And these younger kids that are 18 wanting to get into this trucking field, that's a good program for them right there. Because by the time they get out of there, and they get their trainer out there on their highway, they're going to they should know what they're doing. But, that's just my opinion. I'm just a grumpy old codger.
We have a contributor to your channel, John. On the screen, Trucking is Dead added 99 cents. Got to send you a super sticker. Looks like.
Ah, thank you. Thank you, Trucking is Dead.
That has to be your channel because I'm not monetized yet. So I wanted to recognize him for that.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I do appreciate it.
Yes, very well noticed. If you guys do that super sticker, trust me, the moment I notice it, thank you. I'll pass it on. Hopefully soon enough, I'll be monetized. You can do that for me, but until then, I get what I can. Midlife Trucker says they passed CDL skills test, one that the DOT has mandated. Yes, but again, I'm all about making sense and making it safe. So I think my opinion basically is that, 280 hours, I didn't do the math on that, but somehow I figured out that the total training that they're recommending is going from what is currently 6 weeks to, I think, just over 3 months. So I don't know, John, 3 months, that's a lot of time for someone young. That's almost 2.5 times what the current level. If that went nationwide and everybody was expected to meet that, what are your thoughts?
For training, in reference to training?
For training, for 18-year-olds.
I think 3 months is awesome. Okay. I've told this story before. When I first started, I haven't been driving that long, like 7 years. When I first started, basically I started with a company. I went out and drove team for a week. So the first day, about 3 hours, he was sitting next to me. And then after about 3 hours, he says, "Oh, you're a good driver." Jumped in the back, went to sleep. Rest of the week, we drove team. At the end of that week, they gave me keys. That's not training.
No.
That's what a majority of companies nowadays, that's how they train. And it's not right. 3 months with somebody actually sitting next to you, giving you guidance, giving you pointers, that I 100% can get on board with.
Actually taking the time to show you, hey, this is what you do in this situation. This is what you do in this situation. Taking the time when you're off duty, and I know you're gonna bitch, well, you're not paid, you shouldn't, blah blah blah. But when you know, my eyes, training is, hey, not only the what to do behind the wheel, but it's also what you do while you're off. You know, this is what you look at. This is your pre-trip. This is what you're thinking. This is the mechanical things you need to look for. This is the, you know, what do you do in an A situation? What do you do in B situation? Run the scenarios through the guy's head while he's sitting there off duty, having nothing on him, no stress. He can get it wrong. He can screw it up, and in his mind work out, okay, well, why is it wrong and who did I just kill? Rather than be in the seat and have it happen and then live with the consequences later. What say you on that, Frank?
Well, I kind of agree to that, but the factor of it is this kind of on the same subject as a lot of these schools. Of course, mine wasn't, but I've noticed a lot of them are doing this virtual thing where you get behind this game basically, and learn to drive with that.
Right.
I mean, it's going to give you a little bit of the feel, but it's not going to be the right feel.
Yeah, I mean, mind you, simulators aren't even mentioned in this story I'm talking about now, and I don't think there's any mentioned in the next one I'm gonna bring up. But you know, nothing like hard-nosed trained experience. Thomas Lou Isaac says, "I trained with my dad for 2 years through all of elements of nature." God bless you. That's the way to do it. Midlife, devil's advocate. You know, why does it matter if a person's 18 when they get their CDL or 54? Both are novices. I'm not talking about age. Age is a number, okay? What I'm talking about is maturity, okay?
Yeah.
Because you know what? There are a lot of people driving cars that are out there that are 60 years old that have no business behind the wheel because their driving skills suck. Okay, but then also there's 20-year-olds out there that drive the souped-up Honda sports cars that probably are the best drivers out there. You know, so I mean, there's both sides of the fence. Age is a number. Now, age is irrelevant, but also it plays a large factor in statistics because insurance companies will certainly not charge a premium to a 60-year-old driver who's been behind the wheel for 40 years safely with no accident, as opposed to someone who just got his license yesterday, only had a year behind the wheel, has 2 speeding tickets, and proven a disaster. That man's going to pay huge premiums. So when you talk about whether 18 or 54 versus one or the other, that's what you need to remember. I mean, because there are some 18-year-olds that actually probably drive better than some 60-year-olds who are, you know, just up in themselves. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I agree. Actually, you just brought up a comment from Thomas, and I kind of agree with something he said a little bit farther down. He says 3 months in the summer does not train you then for the winter. So I have to agree with him on that. I said 3 months. Ideally, you would hope that in that 3 month period, you would get a taste of, you know, like go in spring or fall. But there's no guarantees, and I agree with that. Like driving in the snow is nothing like driving in the sunshine. You know, it's almost like driving it's a whole different job at that point. And the stress level is at a whole new level. And if you've never done it before and never trained on how to do it, oh my goodness, it's a whole different
it's a whole different ball game. Yeah. Actually, a couple of more comments I want to drill on and then move on to the next story. But Midlife says it sounds like Bossman wants more regulations. No, I don't. He moves on to say his next comment. They've only been a couple of dozen participants. As I pointed out earlier, has been too many restrictions. Well, no, he said it has many restrictions. Yes. And I think therein part lies the problem, because you know what? If I look at a job and I see a huge amount of barriers I have to overcome to me, those barriers equal money. It's cost. It's something that I will shy away from if I don't think I'm capable of handling it. So in terms of being an 18 or 20-year-old, there's no wonder that we've only had a few, actually a couple of dozen, and I don't know how many is currently, even if the program's still going. They're talking about redoing it, rewriting it, all this. I really don't know if it's worth it, because simply there's, with all the restrictions that you point out, Tom, I don't know if I'm that young, if I want to put myself in this bucket of not only learning a new skill, but having to spend, I mean, if I had the choice between this and college, which would I go for? And I only say that for the finances, because right now, when I got into trucking, I got in for $7,000. I went through my entire training program, got my CDL, and went to my first job and paid off the finances on the vocational school I went to in less than 7 months. Okay, that was my choice. And again, look at it from these guys. If they have to go through, 280 hours, if they have to go through all these requirements, it ain't gonna be no damn $7,000. I can guarantee that. We're talking about a lot of money. We're talking about a huge cost, and we're talking about, is it really worth it? Are you going to get the return on the opposite end of the training? What do you think, Frank? Hypothetically, would you spend $25,000 on a trucking career if that was your only way to get trained?
That's a little steep, I think, honestly. $25,000.
Well, I'm just throwing a number. I mean, it could be that. It could be more. I mean, think about it. I mean, I went through 6 weeks, and it cost me 7. And in, 13 years of inflation, and now 280 hours of on-the-job training. I mean, I'm starting generously at $25,000. It could be more.
Okay, well, like I was just talking about that subject of the college type deals for about 6 months. Now that may range up in that price, but you're getting a whole 6 months, training on that. So I mean, that might be worth it. But if you're just going to go to one that's only a 4 to 6 week course and pay that, no, that's highway robbery right there. Because it's not going to teach you anymore. You're throwing your money out the window.
Yeah. Thomas Lou Isaac said they're not just kids. Middle-aged and older people are also just starting out in this industry. Yes, that's one of the things I'm about to highlight in this next story. I was going to get to that because there is a vocational program, and they do offer training for not just kids, but also older adults. So let's also, I was just going to say, John, let's also remember that we're not talking about just kids. What you do with these new training programs are also going to have to include new people in the industry. What say you, John?
Here's the thing about the whole age thing. I personally have only been driving for 7 years, though I'm older than dirt, and people call me Pops in the comment section now and then. If you're out there, all right. Basically what I was going to say is I don't think the expense should fall on the new guy coming in. The way it should be is, instead of these big carriers and the people that are training the new guys, instead of them saying, well, it's cheaper for us to give them keys, let them wreck our truck and fight a lawsuit than it is to train them for 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand that reasoning, and they're smarter than I am. Maybe financially that makes more sense, but in reality, it makes no sense. And that's what needs to happen. That expense doesn't need to fall on the new guy coming in. That expense needs to fall on the companies that are bringing them in, as a responsibility to our industry and to the public safety. So
right, exactly. I mean, when you think about it, I mean, I'm no different with this rule than I am with the rules behind the speed limiters. I mean, what you do for one, you are likely and really should do for all. I mean, case in point is this. I mean, Tom Lou Isaac made the comment a minute ago about it's not just teens, it's about high school or older guys too. Okay, but this particular news article, and again, all these are set in the links below. All right, Yahoo News put up and wrote up another one of these news stories that tends to show a growing trend of high schools around, but it's also going to highlight two vocational schools. It's said to expand career opportunities and address the increasing demand for truck drivers. Now, I take issue with the editor in this because he's saying all the stuff that every other major news outlet does, but he highlights two individuals named David and Ricardo, talks about their personal struggles and talks about how we need more truckers. No, we don't. First of all, let's train these people and get started on the right foot. We don't need more people in the industry. What we need is common sense rules. And this Yahoo article, I feel, misses the point. They talk about how training is necessary, yes, but they also address that standpoint of we need more truckers. But for those that are talking about the trucking shortage, here is my one sentence to describe what I think needs to happen. Has been canceled due to lack of interest. Say no more, folks. I'm done with that. But here's my point. If you're going to institute training requirements and you're going to talk about what's good and what's not, let's make it fair across the board and let's keep people safe when we're doing it. If 280 ideas or 280 hours, let me get my thoughts straight, is what you're thinking, then fair, make it a requirement for anyone entering from this point forward. Don't hand out a bait and hook situation where you're trying to get the bass and you wind up with the minnow. Okay, you're dangling carrots, you're making it interesting, but when they get there, you're all of a sudden slapping them with this, hard slap in the face. What reality is, and if you want to know why there's only 30 kids going through a program, that's why. I mean, you cannot dangle a career in somebody's face, whether you're an 18-year-old or a 50-year-old, and expect them to, oh, I want to be a truck driver. And then all of a sudden, oh my God, it's going to cost me 15 grand, 20 grand, 20, 30. A college education at Harvard would sound better at this point. I don't know. What do you think, John?
Yeah, actually, I'm not sure I could have said it much better, especially the driver shortage thing. It doesn't exist. It's not a thing. And, just throw that one in the garbage can and let's not even bother talking about it because honestly, It's a waste of all of our breath.
A new viewer, somebody called V Solid, been in school for 2 weeks. I was 1 week away from graduating, felt personally I wasn't getting proper training and driving, felt unsafe, and my instructor was not helping. Sorry to hear that.
Go. No, that's a good thing. That kid is responsible, or gentleman, or I don't know how old you are, and I don't mean any offense by that. Dude, that you're awesome. That you recognize that you weren't getting the training. That shows maturity.
Yes.
That guy needs to be in our industry. Just that maturity right there is what's needed.
Yes. And let me also say accolades to the person knowing that you're not getting what you paid for or what is expected. Kudos to you. That's maturity, that's understanding, and that's what I think fails to happen with the industry as a whole, because there's too many people out here that don't have a clue what they're doing, and honestly, they don't need to be here. So kudos to you for realizing that. You got an opinion on that, Frank? What do you think about the comment there on
B Solid there? The comment, I kind of agree with the factor of what John was saying. If things aren't going right when you're being trained, get out of that school if that's where you're at, or get out of that trucking outfit you're at. Find you one that's going to be comfortable, one you're going to be happy with to learn, because you're there because you want to be there and you're paying for it. If you're not comfortable to learn from it, get away from it and go somewhere else. There's too many options.
Yeah. Poet's also recognizing V Solid's statement. Good for you. He says, I can do 280 hours in 4 weeks. Dude, I don't know what kind of stuff you smoke up there, but do me a favor. Send it over the border. I want some. If you can do 280 hours of training in 4 weeks, you're doing something, man. I'm telling you what. I think the point that the article that I highlighted is making is if we spread it out over a long enough period of time, currently 160 hours, both training and classroom, it's split up. It's 80 hours on one standard and 80 hours on a second standard. So I'm assuming what they're talking about with the 280 is broke up the same way, half on one standard, half on the other. Now, when I say standards, what I mean is currently the first 100 of 160 hours, currently they've set you up with 80 hours worth of classroom instruction. So you're sitting there at a desk, you're talking to a teacher, and it's one-on-one with you in the classroom environment. Then they take you out of the classroom, they put you out in the parking lot, practice the docking maneuvers, your 45 alley, your 90-degree dock, basic understanding of how to parallel park. Then with what's left that you're not doing those, you're actually put behind a wheel with a certified instructor in the seat, and you're given the opportunity to actually control the truck, put in different circumstances, analyzed, instructed, done whatever. But you do that for 80 hours. Now, if all this transmits into a 280 hour, okay, then I can only assume that he would either A, be same class time, more on time, meaning drive time, or maybe they'd split it up, give more classroom instruction and a little bit more on time. I think that would work. Either way, benefit, but you're not going to do it in 4 weeks. I'm sorry. Poet, I love you to death, but no, you're not doing it in 4 weeks. I'm sorry. 3 months in the summer, Thomas Lou says, in the summer does not train them for winter. Amen. Yes, right. Anytime you train, anytime you train, you got to be prepared for all possibilities.
That's something I'd like to add to that. That's deal with the interstate stuff whenever you're under 21. It does not prepare you for getting out there and going through the mountains out there in Colorado.
No.
That's where they need to really work with these kids that want to get into industry at 18 and prepare them for mountain driving and stuff, because once they get out there, if they're by themselves and they've already got experience,
yes,
they're not going to how to react to this mountain areas and stuff, especially if they've been running here in the Midwest.
Yeah, I mean, just like that one story not long ago, I think now going on 2 years ago, the fella had a license out of Texas. He went up, I know you're going to know it just by the description. He went up through Colorado, got to Lakewood, lost his brakes going down the hill, and crash killed poor people. He was sentenced in the courts. It was a big public mess, and he wound up being sentenced to 110 years. Okay, I'm indifferent on the sentence. I mean, I will only say this. I think the company got off easy. Because the company that hired him and put him behind the wheel, in my professional opinion, they needed to suffer more liability. And all they lost was their license and their ability to do business. But from what I understand, they turned around and probably opened up another business in a different name. And they probably put another schmuck behind the wheel to do the same thing. So that in that respect, that's what they needed to address, but that's a whole different video. But right there highlights the point you just made, Frank.
Yeah.
People need more training in all circumstances. They need to be prepared for all possibilities. What are your thoughts, John? Do you agree with that?
Yes. Yeah, they definitely need to be. You need to be cross-trained and not cross-trained, but when you're out here on the road, there are things that happen in a variety of different directions, like being cut off, different things that are happening. You have to be trained and understand all the different scenarios that are possible, and not only know how to handle them when they happen, but expect them to happen and see them coming before they do. And that's the biggest thing about being a truck driver is being able to forecast and see what's going to happen. And you actually can do that.
Yeah, just like Thomas Lou Isaac says, look, listen, and feel what the truck is doing, knowing where to go when abnormal things come up. That's very important. Yes, good, my man. I appreciate you adding to that. Poet also comes up with, my main thing is I don't want to ruin my career due to not being taught properly and possibly ruining thought. Get it. Definitely get it, dude. I get it. I mean, the conscience I would suffer if my having made a mistake and knowing after the fact, even, directly or indirectly, that I caused somebody's death. I could not live with myself, And Thomas Lou says we're all going to pay these huge premiums for these drivers. We currently do. Our insurance rates are going up. And the reason is because of these statistics. And it's these decisions people are making that are causing these very increases to go on. And that's why I come to you with these stories, because I want people aware, because if we do something big enough, bold enough, crazy enough, together we can do a lot more as a community than we can by ourselves individually. So I'm glad you brought that point up. What's saving one life worth? Hey, there you go. That's a good concept. That's exactly what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to save one person, at least. If I can't save a life, I can save somebody from doing research. Tolga says, I'll keep the chat on, but I'm going to listen to you, Mr. Johns. Excellent conversation. Thank you for the compliment. Whether you're on John's channel or whether you're on my channel, God bless you. Thank you for joining us, being part of it.
Don't forget about mine.
Somebody saying, yeah, and I'm going to get to yours in a second. I see somebody saying bye to Poet, so I don't know if that's them leaving, whatever, but Poet, if you're leaving, God bless. Thank you for joining us. Try to get caught up on comments. Bear with me, guys, because I will be probably ending it soon here. 2 hour midlife says, good math man here. 280 hours divided by 60 to 70 hours a week is 4 to 5 weeks. Yes, but I don't think that people are necessarily going to benefit from getting crammed training statuses. I don't remember how I worked out the math, but I did work it out in my head based on what I'd received in school when I was up there, and I didn't do full 11-hour drive days. I did, I think, less than a 60. I think I based it on a 40-hour work week. So again, back then I was new. I didn't think, but I thought, again, when I came up with the math, I did it like the average person would do. 40-hour work week, 8 hours a day, so that's where I came up with that 3-month time frame. My thing is, I don't care if it's 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks, it doesn't matter. My thing is it done be done right. I want proper, I want safe, and I want credible every time somebody's out there. I want somebody to know what they're doing. Last thing I'll put up for midlife, because I'm about ready to wrap it up. Parallel parking 90, alley dock, no longer on the CDL test. Depends on what state you're in, my friend. I think that in New York, you're required to do, at the very least, a 45-degree and parallel park. That one I do know because they made me do it.
I don't know.
How say, my state's the same way.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how it is now, but in Florida 7 years ago, you had to do alley dock and you had to do the offset, but you didn't have to do parallel park. And so.
David Edwards, welcome to the channel, my friend. If you're new, go down below, give me a like, give me a subscription, check out the whole thing. I haven't seen any comments from you, so we're all about making you better and more capable of help making trucking great again. God bless you for joining our channel. Welcome. Tolga says, David, hi there, brother. He's welcoming David. Be solid. The school has been calling me saying another school will not take me and I need to finish through them, but I will not go through with my CDLs. Get a better company. You know what, dude? You don't let no one intimidate you. If you feel like what they put you through was not safe, if you feel like it's putting you at risk or not learning, don't let them intimidate you. You are the captain of your ship. I've said this before, but it remains true. You're the captain of your ship. If you feel like you're better served, move, go, by all means. You want to add to that, Frank?
Yeah, I'll add to that, because the factor of it is, like I said earlier, if you're not happy there because they're not teaching you right and they're trying to tell you you can't get training somewhere else,